Good
So,
evening. Hindustan Chamber of Commerce, jointly with Rajaji Center for Public Affairs and Rasika Ranjani Sabha, takes pride in hosting this program on the topic Reforms, Restructure and Recovery Initiatives. For the last 7 weeks, our government has been fighting the pandemic COVID-19, initially to save valuable human lives and secondly to lift the economy from the stalemate. The Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi ji, on May 12th announced a 20,000 lakh crore economic package, and the next 5 days, the Honorable Finance Minister has come out with ways and means to implement the Prime Minister's motive of Atma Nirbhar Bharat based on the principles of self-sufficient, self-reliant, and not self-centered. The Honorable Finance Minister has indicated the ways, various sectors wherein the government has taken measures to revive the economy and the quantum of package for each. Today, we have with us Mr. N. Venkatraman, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India, and Mr. M. Satyakumar, Advocate and Chartered Accountant, to give us a detailed presentation on the far-reaching effect of the package. Let's hear from the learned speakers. Before I hand over to Mr. G. Subramaniam, moderator, I would like to thank Mr. Nagappan, Vice President, Hindustan Chamber of Commerce, for the technical support. Thank you.
over to GS, I request Chartered Accountant G. Subramaniam, the past President of Hindustan Chamber of Commerce and representing Rajaji Center for Public Affairs, to introduce both the speakers.
Good evening, everybody. The entire world is at a crossroads, and India is no exception. However, unlike most of the countries, including the developed ones, India is extraordinary because of its extraordinary traditions, culture, practices, and the people. Most of you will recollect that a few centuries back, India was the backbone of global economy. All economic activities in the world centered around activities in India. Colonial and communal invasions relegated India into a state of poverty with a need to borrow and at times even beg from other countries. Now is the time when the orders are getting reversed. India is being looked upon as a leader for renaissance of the world order. Unlike the 2020 cricket, which can be most exciting and exhilarating, the year 2020 appears to be exhausting and excruciating. Yet, here is a glimmer of hope and the answer for all the prayers and the committed hard work that our people have put in. India will provide the much needed stability to the global welfare. I'm reminded of a popular old Tamil song from a movie called Vivasai. என்ன வளம் இல்லை இந்த திருநாட்டில் என் கையை ஏந்த வேண்டும் வெளிநாட்டில். That these two lines sum up India's focus today: self-reliance, self-sufficiency, yet not being self-centered. The 20 lakh crore package aims at enabling our dreams and efforts to bear fruit in the medium and the long terms. It is therefore appropriate that we hold today's webinar with the expertise and analytical presentation of two of our leading lights, exemplary intellectuals whose outpourings today will fill our minds with renewed confidence and an optimistic view of the future. I would like to remain an eternal optimist, and I'm confident of enjoying during my lifetime itself the rising of the Indian economy to unforeseeable and historic glory. It's an honor to introduce N. Venkatraman, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India. A versatile lawyer arguing on all types of taxation, direct, indirect, and international, regulatory matters in telecom, gas, energy, electricity, et al. Besides the appearances in the Supreme Court, he has so far appeared in 23 high courts. The last 2 months witnessed severe recession in the aviation industry and the lockdown and suspension of all domestic flights that resulted in the stopping of frequent joins to every nook and corner of India by Sri N. Venkatraman. And that explains why he is able to be present without a fuss today in our midst. Variety is his forte, and he has argued in matters like entry tax, child sex abuse, many public interest litigations, including the Sabarimala case. Deeply religious, a staunch devotee of the Sri Sringeri Mutt, he has established a Veda Pathasala, built a temple, and he is a renowned lecturer in teachings of the Acharyas of the Sringeri Mutt. Professionally, he is proud to proclaim as his guru and ethical mentor the late Sri C. Natarajan, senior advocate of impeccable qualities. The manner in which he pays encomiums to his guru Sri C. Natarajan in lecture number 50 of his recent series on Vidya Danam is a true reflection of the guru and the Sishya. I now request Mr. Venkatraman to make his presentation in about 25 minutes time. It is bound to be power packed while also being a PowerPoint one. Over to Mr. Venkatraman.
Thank you. Okay. Right. Yeah. My camera or Namaste Sharade Devi Kashmira Puravasini Twamaham Praptage Nityam Vidyadanancha Dehimi. Thank you, Mr. Sadguru Das, Mr. Nagappan, Mr. Subramaniam, Hindustan Chamber, Rajaji Center, and RR Sabha. It's a delight to be here to share what little we knew or trying to know about this 20 lakh crore package scheme initiated by the central government as a post-COVID recovery process. I'm duty bound to thank these 4 chartered accountants and acknowledge talking to them for days has enhanced our abilities to understand the issues from complex angles. I must thank to these 4 intelligent and industrious agriculturists who are all literates, well qualified and taken to agriculture either out of as a family profession or out of passion, who are given valuable inputs as to what actually needs to be done if the amount that is sought to be invested in it can actually yield the required results. With these words, let me step in to say what this package seeks to unfold. Whatever we try to understand, the problem today in free economy and freedom of expression is anybody can express any view they want. And in whatever way they want. Chitra, can you unmute everybody else, please?
Yeah. Okay. Done. Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Yeah, all are muted, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, you can proceed, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. So we need to first, if you want to play a cricket match, you have to play it only in a cricket field, the pitch, the temperature, the opposition, the crowd. There's so many factors influence a match. Similarly, before we understand this package, we need to peg ourselves in certain ground rules. Then we will be able to unfurl it and understand it. There are 3 aspects which we need to bear in mind before we get into it. India is a developing economy, has a large population, and of late, all over the world, there is an economic slowdown, and many countries have been growing only between 1% and 2%. And the prediction is many countries will go down by 4 to -5%, except China and India. Though they say it is optimistic, but it is not impossible. This is one factor which one should bear in mind. The two operational limitations. Our corporate borrowings are the highest in terms of debt equity ratio, which somebody can say, how can you now go and borrow? And there is a counter answer to say, we have a strong fundamentals, and that's why they are able to give money to our corporate sectors. And you'll be wondering in this 2 months, how many lakh crores of investments are being planned through Indian corporates is a magic. That's the kind of corporate and India we are. I'm not saying it in thousands, in lakhs of crores, investments are being planned in this country for the last 2 months. So it goes both ways. Then the historical track record of government debt is also very high. Now comes the third factor. What is going to happen post-COVID? So if you have these 4 parameters in mind, then we can possibly discuss. This 20 lakh crores in a slide actually falls into these following compartments. And the essential voice that is being raised constantly in the last 2 weeks or 10 days is, look at this, they claim it to be 20 lakh crores, of which more than 8 lakh crores is going to be funded by RBI. So how can the central government factor it as it's not even 12 lakh crores, some peg it at 9 lakh crores and 10 lakh crores. We should not forget the fact that RBI is not a foreign bank, nor is it located outside the country. It's our bank, our regulator, governed by the Act of Parliament. And Supreme Court in its recent decision on cryptocurrency has brought out beautifully the nexus between RBI and the central government. How it gets created and how it can act much stronger than one who has created himself. And there are provisions in the RBI where central government, if out of necessity, if need be, can hand over powers to the RBI on certain matters of financial functions and proprietary. So to say that they are independent dispensation and therefore should not be factored looks clearly a disconnect and contrary to decisions laid down by the Supreme Court. So first objection I thought I should clear in your mind. So the 20 lakh crores should be taken as a cumulative number to see where money flows. Now, these are the areas which has been identified for self-reliance and also for Make in India. There are about 9 major sectors, of which every time agriculture is a priority and it tops. And see, the thrust appears to be deregulate. That's one thrust. Attract investment, better price realization, adequate choice to the farmers, and barrier-free interstate movements. These are the important key points arising out of this dispensation. But what is more important is, in fact, all these 4 people with whom we talked about it were all, as I said, literate agriculturists. They are suggesting the following. They are saying 2-3 things if combined, then this money which is sought to be plowed will yield good results. There is a lot of vagaries between the mismatch of overproduction and underproduction. Because now that we have technology, if this can be nuanced properly and in the demand supply can be regulated, it will be one of the major reliefs to agriculturists. Then if minimum support price, which is more in the paper because of lack of infrastructure, if that can see the light of the day, then the connecting dots would match. And tropical climate of India needs to be exploited. Aromatic agro project and herb because we are now trying to go global even in agricultural produce. These are our strengths. And more importantly, this is a state subject and therefore the connect with the state government is of paramount importance, where I thought I'll add some value. See, we have for the past 3 years, irrespective of different political parties ruling in the states and in the center, we have been successfully running the GST Council across overlooking the political irreconcilable differences. All of them have started to think trade is more paramount and trade in their state is more paramount. Therefore, if this experiment has worked in GST, so if we can think of a model, initially, whether it can be a constitutional model, we have to try it like an empowered committee for a while, and then designate it into a constitutional status. If there can be an independent constitutional body which can connect the dots and avoid the mismatches and employ technology and ultimately put little more money into the farmer's pocket, they say this can work possibly well this time. Now, before we go into Make in India, please have a look at this picture. I'm only suggesting one aspect out of this complex picture. China, this is of course 2018, so that will be a decline. Doesn't matter, it's relative all over the world. If China is doing 4 trillion, if you just see to the right, you will find India doing 412 billion. If the geopolitical dynamics and the kaleidoscope swings in favor of India, even if we draw 10 to 15% of the manufacturing facility, because most of them are identical, substitutes, complementary. So if this can happen, India can possibly become a 1 trillion economy in manufacturing. Therefore, this global scenario is posted only to say a huge opportunity can be thought of. So it's not impossible. We need to connect the labor laws. We need to make it attractive. All those things are there. But it's not impossible looking at the present geopolitical scenario. Now, in coal sector, the thrust is going to be revenue sharing, ease of doing, and an infrastructural investment of 50,000 crores. In mineral, 500 mining blocks would be offered as an open and a transparent auction process. And a thought has gone into for rationalization of stamp duty. In defense, banning of notified items and weapons, indigenization, automatic route of FDI is now going to be at 74%, and faster decision-making process. Civil aviation, world-class airports. And more importantly, one techno consultant has filed a report saying that we are now 5 in aviation. By 1935-38, we may move into 1. And by which time, of course, this was a pre-COVID preparation, we might, in the world may require about 40,000 aircrafts. India has the capability to become a super producer of good aircrafts. And if we set our mind and tune ourselves with this stream, this is one area where India can possibly grow very well. And the convergence between defense sector and civil MROs will be one more act to connect. Power. We would have seen so much about power. Privatization in the union territories is one. Then generation and transmission projects to be competitively be selected, and more importantly, timely payments to the GenCos. That's where the bottleneck arose, says all the statistics. In social infrastructure, government has promised to fill the gap of around 30%, starting from healthcare. It covers in numerous industries. And therefore, this is going to be one area. Now, the policy decision by RBI, the borrowing rates by the banks from the RBI has been reduced almost by 1%. And that benefit is going to be passed on to the customers. That's one. Then, when monies are kept with RBI by the banks, it was what we call the reverse repo. It was drawing an interest of 4.9, which RBI has brought it down to 4, forcing the banks not to stock money with them. And the third important factor is the lazy money, which is around 3 to 4% as a reserve, has been released. 1% has been released into the market for circulation, which is 1.37 lakh crores. These are the three major impetus. And now, therefore, you have more money. It was originally 2.8 lakhs. Now it's almost 4 lakhs, 4 lakhs plus, even as per the statement. And also through providing necessary papers. The whole idea is triple fold. More money to banks, give it cheap, and force them to lend. These are the concessions as of now thought for, which RBI has assured that it shall review it from time to time. On the borrowing side. Now, this is the vexed question that is sought to be raised. There is a lot of writings and also voices all across saying that we are sitting on an asset of 470 billion foreign reserves. So why not we monetize it? That's one question. Or how is the government going to get all this money? Are they going to print? Are they going to sell the PSUs? How are they going to get this money? We should know. Just think for yourself. We have been seeing at least 60, 70 budgets, at least all of us 30, 40 budgets in our life. Which government has said that this is the source of money in which and then prepares a budget? Why should, see, it's like 130 crore people participating to say we should know what we are going to, where the money is going to come from. So the strength of India today is its foreign exchange reserve, which is in the form of FDI, stocks, export earnings, and several other dispensations. But it will not be prudent, as a past practice, it will never be prudent to monetize it, because we should always keep our rupee strong as much as is possible. And when India is an extremely import-intensive country, any fluctuations we should be able to stand up and take it. And therefore, this is not something which everyone encourages to do, and we should leave it to RBI to decide what it thinks fit, even though we are sitting on a huge asset. But what is important, more important to understand is, if there is any, this is one school of thought, if any attempt is made to monetize it, then there is always a counter lobby which can frustrate the attempt by devaluing rupee and nullify the whole effect overnight. Therefore, this is a very critical area. I think none of us can sit here and say this is what RBI should do or central government should do. And therefore, this question is better well answered, leaving the regulator to take a call what it should do. But there is a suggestion here. One of the vice chancellors of an educational university was suggesting that gold is still a very good option for India. If you stop buying gold, say for a couple of days, we can run 2 Mangalyaan to space. That's the kind of, India is one of the biggest importer of gold. And therefore, if a VDS scheme can be thought of gold, of bars at least, and if they surrender it for a 5-year locking period with against a bond at a very minimal interest, whether that can be one aspect which can possibly do well is one thought. Now, this is the calculation which we saw how money is going to be dispensed with. So there are 4 critical areas of managing the present situation. One is the liquidity infusement. Second most important is there is going to be a sovereign guarantee to the extent of 3.5 lakh crores. Now you will see the connect between central government and RBI. If RBI is going to fund 8 lakh crores, government is ready to undertake and underwrite 3.5 lakh crores coverage, which is meant for SMEs and MSCs. And if they default, they have said it will be our sovereign responsibility, and we stand as a collateral for them and we will pay. Now, they have also redefined the definition of SMEs and MSCs. And this is the critical chart of the dispensation. The first 2 is completely collateralized as a sovereign debt. Of the rest of the things, of course, Discom and all this, but the first 2 is of prime importance. 3,20,000 crores, government is collateralizing it. Now on tax-related issues, see, as we said, some say it is not 20, it is 9. Someone can say it is not 20, it is actually 27 or 28 lakh crores. How? See, 3 dispensations have happened so far. Last July, there was an announcement for the corporate where the benefit on tax was to the extent of about 1.2 lakh crores. This March, on individuals, it was around 70,000 crores. The whole idea was money should be with us instead of in the consolidated fund, so that consumption improves. That was the idea in which such a huge lump of money was given to us. But COVID ate away all that. Now, post-COVID, this year, our recoveries are going to be short at least by 3.5 lakh to 4, if not more. And government has not chosen to increase rates. It could have very well said, we are in bad times, all of you will pay 75% income tax. All GST will be 35%, because we have been paying indirect taxes to the extent of 33-34% even 3 years back. So all of you should pay more. Whatever you can pinch, we'll pinch, because we need money. So that is not happening. And the fourth important bucket is whatever has been budgeted as an expenditure in March 2020, there is no shrinkage on that. So all put together, 7.5, 8 lakh crores should be considered only as a stimulus in the given situation, is one view. They're coming to the reduced TDS, which is going to again end up in a circulation of 50,000 crores. It is important to say they are only suggesting one aspect as a request. In fact, when Mr. Ranganathan was speaking to a group of SMEs and MSCs, they were coming out with a thought process. See, nowhere in domestic taxation there is a TDS scheme except in India. Cross-border, we have it. But in fact, in cross-border, the whole money is taken upfront. So there is a suggestion and request by the MSCs and SMEs. Okay, we will pay the 75% of what the TDS is. Can a bank give us a collateral loan, and it can even charge an interest of, say, a couple of percentage to us, so that we can recycle? This is money which the income earner has to pay at the end of the year or once in a quarter. So if you can give that against a loan, and many of them are saying this year at least we are going to end up in refund, we may not be able to pay more tax, the TDS itself should be sufficient. So if there's going to be resulting in some refund, whether the bank can grant it directly and bank in turn can take it up from the department. This is purely a thought process for the government to consider whether this will improve the working capital cycle far better as a support measure, because it is only recycling the money once in a while. Now, these are the questions that are often asked. In the last 10 days, our juniors sat and surfed both Jayalakshmi and Aryaman Gulati, and they found, which I told them, they picked up about 15 questions. So we said, for lack of time, we have shortlisted it to 5. These are the 5 basic questions which they try to keep asking. Why not after all, you're going to give 20 lakh crores, all of us are suffering out of it. So why not to credit 20 lakh crores into our account, which if you put it against 130 crores, Madurai Sridhar in his interview was saying it comes down to some 15,000 rupees per account. And if that is going to be the credit and 15,000 rupees suddenly into your account, and if everybody starts going into the market to use it for consumption, imagine what can happen to India. So it will be an imprudent decision in a situation of this to pump that much of money, and that's not how you raise consumption. Because very many economists are viewing, these schemes may help you to create demand, but will it help you to create consumption? Consumption will be slow. We'll have to bear that in mind, no doubt. But these reliefs about 7.5 lakh crores in not raising taxes or whatever has been given as payoff before the budget still remains, at least in a sense, where we can possibly navigate and operate. But the only request, again, a section of people are making to the government is, there are a section of people who are professionals but not employed. They are all professionals as individuals, where they have lost a huge money now because of non-performance of their professional work for the last 3-4 months. So they are looking at some support from the government or some leniency for at least a year for them to set right and stabilize. As they have included SMEs and MSCs, can individual professionals also join this line is one request which they are wanting the government to consider. Now, somebody is saying, no, this is nothing but a reading of a budget. No, it's not a budget. It's not a budget. because this is an emergency financial situation where any government has to rise up and try to meet the exigencies. It is an exigency. Budget is something which you have to plan every year, whereas you don't plan this every year. Then whether it's going to be borrowings or printing or whatever it is, or a combination or a sale of PSUs, it is better we leave it to the regulator and to the government to take a call. And if we keep debating, this is what they issue and this is going to be the idea. If you are going to advise RBI and economists and the CEO of the country, I think that is stretching it too far. So we should leave that as that. Now the fourth question is, how can government underwrite 3.5 lakh crores as a sovereign guarantee? What is the option? What else is the option? See, if you don't give money, most of them will die. And how do you give money to your bank? And bank cannot give the money free. So between the two choices, not to give and keep quiet, or to take the initiative of giving and see how far they rise up, of the two, you have to opt for one. And that's exactly what they have started to operate. And during economic slowdown, liquidity infusion is not a sensible decision. What is the option? See, it is easy to comment. Unless you give this plan A is wrong, it can be only plan B, then you should better accept plan B. That's how we should at least regulate or modulate public discourse on these sensitive issues. Last 2 minutes. It's a request to the youngsters. COVID has taught an invaluable lesson for all of us. Those who have saved are surviving fairly well. And those who have lived lives through credit cards are all on the talks. So please be careful in future. 2, buy as much as goods possible from the Indian market. We need to have more money within India. And 3, most importantly, one can revive, stand up and progress in life only when you are more and more connected with technology. Avoid gatherings and respect our environment. Nature has shown what it can do to us. Just 1 gram of COVID has shut 162 countries. That's what one technologist gives a report, shares a report. And whatever little we have been sharing in these 3 months to our staffs, our servant mates, our drivers, our gatekeepers, see, it has encouraged them to consume. This is a valuable lesson which we have to learn. If we consume and if you can share the consumption, more number of people can consume, then it will stabilize consumption of the country itself. And the last point before I exit, we have an ancient tradition, we have culture, we are all oriented in a very, very different style. Globalization has several plus points, but it has taken away our human touch. And liberalization, liberal thoughts in the name of freedom of speech has destroyed our roots. So if the youth can contain these two, and if we can go back to the human touch, take it, India will bounce back into glory. Thank you so much once again for each one of you for patiently listening to this small talk. Thank you. So Nagappan, it's back to you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. That was really very nice and very elaborate. And I would request G. Subramaniam to introduce the next speaker, sir.
Friends, actually, I was wanting to even make a few observations on Mr. Venkatraman's presentation. For 2 reasons, I am not doing it right now. One is that we are slightly behind schedule. And if we are able to find the time, we will do it towards the end of the program. And the second, there are points which have not actually been part of this stimulus package, but which probably may have to be incorporated in the next possible stimulus package. I think we will make a separate representation. Now it's my turn to introduce a youth icon and the face of the resurgent India, Sri Satya Kumar. He possesses many qualifications, but they fade in comparison to his qualities. He is consulted by the Prime Minister's leadership team, Niti Aayog, Ministries of Home Affairs, law, agriculture, information and broadcasting. Many a times, he is the spokesperson on AIR, Doordarshan, and other media channels. A guest lecturer at IITs, IIMs, CII, FICCI, Chambers of Commerce across India and other countries, he trains professionals in Uganda on transfer pricing regulations. A true follower of Swami Vivekananda, he has trained and motivated over 13,000 volunteers for igniting nationalism with the ideals of Swamiji. Having served a multinational firm, KPMG, with a European exposure for 9 years, he has appropriately turned Swadeshi, and now he is practicing in Chennai as a chartered accountant with varied interests in technology and a focus on MSMEs. He has won National Youth Icon Award, Changemaker Award, Vasisht Dhruva Award, and many more laurels, and is revered as a modern Chanakya by prominent governance leaders. His vision is to put India in the developed nations list very soon. How appropriate is the choice today, as the stimulus package lays emphasis on the MSME sector, for which Sri Satya Kumar is a torchbearer. I am confident that he will dissect and place before us the micro aspects of all the schemes intended to recover soon and reach significant milestones. Sri Satya Kumar will take about 20 minutes or so, and thereafter we'll have a brief question answer session. Over to Mr. Satya Kumar.
Thanks a lot, Subramaniam sir. It's a pleasure connecting to you all. I thank Hindustan Chamber of Commerce, leadership of Hindustan Chamber of Commerce, leadership of Rajaji Center for Public Affairs, leadership of Rasika Ranjani Sabha, and thanks to Chitra ma'am for organizing it. Thanks to Nagappan sir, from whom I learned how to reach to the common man in a simple format, and my guru, Sri Nagarajan sir, my chartered accountancy guru, my accounting guru. So he's also present here. It's a pleasure to connect everybody. And none other than we have a legal expert, one of the best experts in the country. The Sri Venkatramanji is here. Not only is a legal expert, but also a spiritual, they have been listening to spiritual discourses. Thanks Venkatramanji for putting up that wonderful thought process. It was a new dimension. And having been someone who's in the field, interacting with multiple stakeholders, and having been interacting with some of the committees of the government in the past 2 months, let me tell you, in a very simple format, so that there are many micro, small and medium enterprises. So in other 5 minutes, I will just brief about how do we have to look at the papers and newspapers that is going to carry articles. Very important. My dear friends, you all know COVID-19 is a pandemic, and we still not clear whether it is because of the natural factor which it arose in China, and two, whether it has a synthetic element. So I believe it could be artificial also. There is a biology department in Wuhan. So I can tell you with full conviction, today the pandemic, you can't even see that, but it has become a global citizen and part of us. Within a matter of few months, it has become a global citizen. My dear friends, we never imagined this situation could come to everyone sitting at home and doing all these activities. The reason why I'm highlighting it because now if you see, let me put the population of 7 billion people in the world into two buckets. The 5 billion people are in Asia. 5 billion people are in Asia, and the rest of the 2 billion people are in other parts of the world, other continents. Looking at this, there's a huge market in Asia, but as against the COVID and Corona are set in here, and all the economies are suffering. First, what are the three issues that we are facing? One, human suffering. People have already lost their lives. And two, I think there is an echo.
1 minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Satya, not able to hear.
I'm just, yeah.
Every country will go through the. I never imagined that. Not even in my rarest of the dream that I thought economic recession can set in any country. That too globally. So please understand, if America at least performs well, we can go for export and then we can try to get the service sector uplifted. But now the entire world has come to a standstill because of an unseen virus. This is a very, very new thing that the entire world is handling. It is even worse than the Great Depression, which happened in 1929, because at that point of time, the world was not a global village. So knowing all these things, so we have to accept the fact that global economic recession has set in. And third important thing, because of this, what is going to be the outcome? There's going to be a deep financial and corporate sector distress, and everybody here who are all doing business, you know better how you are suffering in these times. Now, what is the policy response the government can do? Because we see in media, we see people cribbing, the government should do this, government should do that, without knowing what work really works in the government. In fact, Venkataramanji actually clearly mentioned it is the role of the economist and role of the government to bring out the policy. They know better, they have better data and they have better realities of the country, and they have the global best practices in their hand. They're trying their ways. So what is the full policy instrument through which the government can handle this issue? The four policy instrument is health and social protection policy. Health and social protection policy. Let me tell you, Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, proactively in 2018, I suppose in August, he brought Ayushman Bharat, 5 lakh rupees for each family, 10 crore family covering 50 crore people. People are joking about it at that point of time. Today, even though the healthcare issue could come, but this policy of the government is really helping the people. Even if the later point of time, of course, there's going to be a burden on the healthcare segment, but still, people have that Ayushman Bharat. Without spending, they can use the Ayushman Bharat card. This is one of the things I wanted to mention. None of the people, nobody mentions about it across the nation, but Ayushman Bharat is a great tool available as a health and social protection. 2 is the monetary policy. Let me remind everyone here. In 2014, you all must be aware, the Monetary Policy Committee was formed. Monetary Policy Committee was formed where there was an interaction of fiscal policy and monetary policy. This was not happening before. The inflation was curtailed in the country from 2014 to 2019 only because of the Monetary Policy Committee's efforts. And you can look at the book written by Arvind Subramanian of the Council. He has mentioned, of course, he was critical about the government policies, but there were improvements in the government also. The Monetary Policy Committee is acting in a fantastic way. Venkataramanji did mention about the GST Council. It is a modern technology available for the cooperative federalism. There is a technology available between the fiscal policy and monetary policy also. That is the Monetary Policy Committee, which was brought in 2015 because of the ideas that was coming because of the government. It was a majority government. And third important thing is the fiscal policy measures. I still remember in 2015, the late Sri Arun Jaitley ji said the tax rates in the entire Asia, India is the highest. We have to go for a flat rate of tax. His vision was to make it over a period of 25%. Now the tax rate is 28%. For the domestic companies, it's 17%. And we all know now India has the lowest tax rate in entire Southeast Asia. So looking at it, India is becoming like a tax haven. So it can attract investment. Then last is financial and regulatory policies. My dear friends, the biggest hurdle in the country today is one, financial policies. 2 is the regulatory hurdles. Even after we came out from the license charge in 1991, even today, I'm telling you, the government has announced 20 lakh crore. In full conviction, I can mention the bureaucracy is the biggest hurdle of India. I am telling you with a full conviction. I take on that full conviction because Lee Kuan Yew, who analyzed India, those times has said in 1990s itself, he said that India's biggest hurdle, the Prime Minister of Singapore, who have brought efficient policy in Singapore, said, looking at India will not progress as compared to China only because of the bureaucratic hurdles. Even today, this is going to be a biggest challenge. These 4 policy instruments are there with the government. What is that? Health and social protection policy. 2, monetary policy. 3, fiscal policy. 4, financial and regulatory policy. Any announcement from the government, you have to put into either of these buckets and see and view. Why are they bringing it? This is not a time of prosperity. This is a crisis. Let us remember that. In crisis situation, we can only do what we have in our hand. So what is the targeted outcome that the government is seeing? The targeted outcome, even before we imagine about the growth, the targeted outcome is about flattening the human suffering curve. One first target, flattening the human suffering curve. The corona and COVID will not go away until the last man in our country goes out of the corona and COVID will remain in our country. We may only flatten the corona and COVID. It will not go in few months. Of course, we will mutate and then we will develop herd immunity. That's what the experts say. I'm not a doctor, but I consult the health sector people. They say herd immunity could be the possibility. And second important thing, the biggest problem today is flattening the bankruptcy curve. So we have to flatten the bankruptcy curve. Bankruptcy will happen, but we have to flatten the bankruptcy curve. We should see how many people we can recover out. Third important thing is flattening the recession curve. So this is a vicious circle. Human suffering leading to a bankruptcy curve, bankruptcy issues, and that leading to the recession curve. So it's a three-factor outcome that the government is looking at in the 4 policy document that the government is planning. That is the health and social protection policy, monetary policy, fiscal policy, and financial regulatory policy. Keeping this in mind, we have to look at the announcement by the government. What is the announcement by the government? The Atmanirbhar scheme issued by the Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi. My dear friends, when this Atmanirbhar was being issued, I was predicting, because continuously there was stakeholder inputs that was taken. I have given many inputs. I have to thank Professor Vaidyanathan of IIM Bangalore. This is a very good book, which all of them should, if you have time at home, please go through this book. This is India Unlinked. And there is also a book written by Vivek Debroy. This is a rural market for poor. When we look at these aspects, these 2 books came as a handy to propose some ideas to the government. Wonderful ideas were discussed here. So exactly, the rural India, rural demand has already gone down, and MSMEs has to be recovered. So MSMEs has to be recovered. So now the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the Prime Minister vision is squarely on first level is to recover the supply chain. The supply chain got disturbed and disrupted. When Prime Minister announced the lockdown in lockdown 1, I was very clear. The next day itself, the entire supply chain will get collapsed. The entire supply chain will get collapsed because demands will go down, and even if it is locked for 15 days. So we have extended until now. So the government really thought about it. The only solution now available is to go local, try to buy local products. But if you ask me whether laptops are there, which are Indian made, laptops are not there. We are not looking at that in the self-reliant India as of now. What we are looking at self-reliant India is buying that soap, buying that shampoo, buying that pen, buying that necessities, essentials. First of all, essentials itself, we have not gone to self-reliant India. Please understand, FMCG product that we are buying today, is most of them are foreign nationals. So can we look at, instead of buying rinse soap, can we look at Ponvandu soap? Please understand, that's what we are looking at in self-reliant India. So immediately people come and create all the mess. Oh, make in India, defense has to be India, then laptops has to be India. No, that is not the thing. We'll slowly, phase by phase, look at self-reliant India. What we are looking at in self-reliant India, instead of buying Cadbury, can we buy that groundnut candy? Groundnut candy manufactured by Voddanchatram farmer. Voddanchatram farmer. Instead of buying Coca-Cola, can we look at buying Pollachi farmers that Eleni, which is packed? So this is what we are looking at in self-reliant India. Let me be very clear. That's what the government, Prime Minister said. Go local, be vocal about it. Then 5 pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat. I'll be a bit fast because Nagappan sir has already told I have to curtail within 22 minutes. So I'll be a bit fast. Okay. So 5 pillars is economy, infrastructure, vibrant democracy, demography, and demand. 10% of India's GDP. Yes. When government announced about 20 lakh, my very good friends who opposed the government went on to say they will put money in the pocket of people. Please understand, putting money in the pocket of people will be a disaster. We have to recoup the hard work of the people. We have to pump only by accountability. Please understand, it's a responsibility of every citizen. Government did not bring COVID to the country. It is the citizens who brought the COVID to the country. Please understand. So it is a responsibility of the citizens. Yeah, and you may say, how can we let's not play the victim game. It is all part and parcel of the globalization. So we have to work hard to ensure that we build our economy. Looking at this, let me give 3 factors and focus on MSME alone in another 15-20 minutes, and then highlight few things and then close the session. Because most of the ideas were given by Venkatraman sir from the coal sector, from the defense point of view, I highlighted about it. We have to go through each policy document as it comes, but we will only highlight about it. Now coming back to the MSME, which is close to my heart, the MSME profile is like this. 93.5% of employment opportunity in the country is created by micro, small, and medium enterprises. Do not ask me whether it is a formal jobs or informal jobs. This is the data that I have with me. And that this book is a wonderful book in which Professor Vaidyanathan, even way back in 10 years before in IIM, with the students of IIM, he has put out this statistics. 93.5% of employment opportunity is created. That the vendor, the milk vendor, these are all the people, the micro entrepreneurs, I could say, small entrepreneurs. Two, solopreneurs. All this put together, 93.5% of employment opportunity is created. Don't talk about ILO now, International Labour Organization, decent work factors. I'm looking at the entire country where they have put for productivity. So rest of the 7% only is created by large corporate and the big boys. So 7% of the employment opportunity. Second important thing, as per the report of the Ministry of Finance, 96% of the corporate tax assessees also is MSME. Please understand, 96% of the corporate tax assessee also is MSME, as per the report given by the Ministry of in the budget documents. And third important factor, it was quoted by Honorable late Sri Arun Jaitley ji in one of his speech in the finance budget, that only 4% credit taxes is there for MSME. Only 4%. Let's assume 100 MSMEs are there who got the loan. Only 4% had access to the banking channel, the loan in the banking channel. Rest of the 96% never had access to the credit channel. It is there in the report, in the budget documents which were issued by the government. So looking at it, the employment opportunities created by MSME. Two, the taxpayer also in the corporate segment also is MSME. Only 4% are big boys. And the third important aspect is the credit taxes is also 4% only. Now, COVID is an opportunity to formalize the economy. I look this as an opportunity. Why? Because the private finance got collapsed. So the people who are supposed to do the business now should go to the bank. Accordingly, government has tried its best to come out with the MSME package. So this MSME package, before even I get into the discussion of the package, let me tell you, there are about 480 schemes of the government for MSME. 480 schemes. You go to the Ministry of Finance and MSME Ministry, you will find a document which has 480. If you go and ask any businessman, you will not know all these schemes because nobody explored those schemes. There are wonderful schemes available with the government and even the state governments. Only 5 state governments have MSME department in the country. Only 5. Tamil Nadu is one of the states. We have to appreciate Tamil Nadu government. They have we are one of the pioneers in MSME. So we have that policy. We have that MSME segment also. Let me first explore the street vendors. Now, first I'll go from the bottom of the pyramid. So I'm a great fan of C.K. Prahalad. So I'll go from the bottom, fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. Now, fortune at the bottom of how do we create fortune in the times of crisis? Now, street vendors are a very, very important segment of our economy. Today, you and I survive in home only because of street vendors. Small kirana shops. Please understand. But if you ask them the credit access, they don't have a credit access. They go for kandu vaddi, meter vaddi, speed vaddi. So, but can we look at formalizing them? Can we look at bringing them into the financial inclusion? Possible through credit system. Now, for that, the government has announced the scheme for a street vendor, which is about 5,000 crore package, empowering 50 lakh people, 50 lakh street vendors. The next question that will come to you from you, so whether that street vendor, does he know about this scheme? He does not know. As soon as it is announced, even now when I go and ask my Kirana fellow here who is near my home, he will not know about it. So whose responsibility is the public delivery of this 5,000 crore? It is the responsibility of the bank. Responsibility of the bank. In the bank, whose responsibility? It is the responsibility of the branch manager of this area. So only then the street vendors will know this. Second important thing that which is coming as a handy now to the government to support the micro enterprises, cottage industries is Mudra scheme. Whenever I speak about Mudra, people look at like a joke. Some of the people who oppose the scheme. But let me tell you, Mudra has empowered 17 crore people in the country with 8,20,000 crore funding that has happened. It's a huge transformation that we have done from 2014 onwards. We have about 17 crore people have got funded, 8,20,000 crore. My dear friends, in this 8,20,000 crore in Mudra, there is Sishu, Kishore and Tarun. Remember this SKT. Let me teach you. Let me put you the acronym SKT. Sishu, Kishore, Tarun. Sishu is about 50,000 rupees loan. Honorable Finance Minister highlighted the fact nearly 1.62 crore people in the entire country got about 25,000 rupees to 40,000 rupees loan. Now, this is provided without any security and collateral. Now, the government has provided 1,500 crore rupees under Sishu alone in Mudra, which will help about 3 crore people. So the fortune at the bottom of the pyramid will be supported by the government. Fortune will be created for the people who are suffering under the bottom of the pyramid. Next level is the Kishore and Tarun. about 50,000 to 5 lakh is provided, Kishore and Tarun. If many people in Tamil Nadu will be very interested to know how many people in Tamil Nadu got it. In Tamil Nadu, the people who got Mudra scheme is 1 crore 93 lakh people. 1 crore 93 lakh people, and Tamil Nadu is the highest beneficiary out of Mudra. So now this is because of JAM, Jandan, Aadhaar and Mobile. Jandan, Aadhaar and Mobile. So this is coming as a support structure for MSME, because over a period now we have become digitally, the financial inclusion has supported us. Now going back to the MSME schemes, let me also be very critical about the government schemes. When I'm discussing about the ideas provided by the government scheme, the government has said 3 lakh crores collateral free automatic loans for businesses, including MSME. Now, before going and seeing what is MSME, let me first highlight about what is the definition of MSME. This is in talks of the government for a long time. Codicea people approached many stakeholders. They did give me the presentation. I sent directly to the Vice Chairman of Niti Aayog, Mr. Rajakumar ji, and we had lot of queries. I did collected some information, and now Codicea people are very happy. There is a, can somebody mute? There's a disturbance.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody was unmuted. Yeah. Now the micro, small and medium enterprise people are very happy because there is a definition change. What is the definition change? What was the existing? There was a two classification: manufacturing enterprise and service enterprise, which was based on investment criteria. Now, what has happened now? It is now the investment criteria and turnover criteria has been clubbed. Please understand, it is not or investment or turnover. It is investment and turnover. Investment and turnover, very important. Somebody was investing very low amount in an app. For example, somebody develops an app for few lakhs, but they were making huge turnover. Still, they were benefiting out of micro. Please understand, they were benefiting out of micro. But somebody who invested a substantial amount but did not make turnover, they were going out from the definition of micro. Hello? There's a disturbance. Somebody has to. Hello?
Yeah. Is it all right? Yeah.
So everybody has to be muted. I have to be unmuted.
Yeah. 1 minute. Yeah, you may proceed.
Yeah. So the definition clause has undergone a change. It's a very big transformation. Why? Simple. You can look at the definition. It is all available in the public domain. But let me explain the concept. By amending the definition, you are bringing under the umbrella of the micro many enterprises. Many enterprises. So the government has an opportunity now to provide more benefits to the micro enterprises. Next important development is the global tenders to be disallowed up to 200 crores. See, up to 200 crore in the government, it was even the foreign players were applying, even Chinese companies were participating. I myself know many Chinese companies were participating in the tenders of the government. Now that the government has gone to say only Indian enterprises, MSMEs can look at applying for global tender. It's a huge opportunity for MSME. Now it is a good opportunity. Let me be critical. Huh? Let me be very critical. It's a great opportunity to work with the government, but never a great opportunity to collect from the government. Never it is a pleasant experience to collect from the government. How much is total money pending from the government? State public sector enterprises, union public sector enterprises, departments of the government, all payment put together. I saw statistics where it is 5 lakh crore. All announcements are fine. My question to the government, will they release 5 lakh crore immediately to the MSME? There ends the matter. I am very critical because many of them see me supporting the government policy in the given time, but I am very critical about this idea. Global tender is fine. I am ready to work with the government. will the government leave the private sector? Private sector has various reasons for delaying a payment because there's a working capital issue. So the government has to provide the payments to the MSMEs. So beyond this, the PF allocation, PF support by the government, and EPF reduction from 12% to 10% is a great idea. In another 2 minutes, I'll complete the session. And 30,000 crore liquidity to NBFCs so that it can go and support the MSMEs is a great idea. And government becoming a guarantor, sovereign fund support is a fantastic idea. And last issue which I wanted to take up in 1 minute, because most of the enterprises are working based on the support of migrant workers. These migrant workers, we have to understand the statistics of the migrant workers with the government. I have a statistics, the migrant workers totally, migrant data is about 31 crore. 10% started moving in the country. It is about 3.1 crore. What is the support given by the government for the migrant workers? In fact, industry should have supported the migrant worker, not the government. But what happened? The government stepped in to support. 8 crore people are now getting ration. That's all the government can provide. They cannot provide houses for them. They cannot put luxurious things. So what the government can do? They're providing free ration without even a ration card. 8 crore people are now getting benefited. That is the reason government went on to say one ration, one nation. One ration, one nation. Nobody understood the objective. Now everybody is saying migrant workers are suffering without food. If one ration, one nation it would have been implemented, the migrant workers would have got benefited. Now 3.1 crore people started moving. 8 crore people are supported. These people who are moving to, where are they moving? They are moving to rural area. When they move to the rural area, what is the government providing as a support in the rural area? 40,000 crore Manrega. Simple. 40,000 crore Manrega. When they go to the rural area, they will be employed and they will be provided 202 rupees per day for their as a labor charges for them to work in Manrega. As in this side, they're incentivizing MSME. They're allowing the global tenders for the Indian companies. So they are trying to energize, or rather to provide support for the building the supply chain in the country first. So this announcement of 20 lakh crore is a policy of it is a mix of monetary policy, is a mix of fiscal policy, it's a mix of health and social protection policy, it is a mix of financial regulatory policy. So the four items which I told you. So looking at it, the 20 lakh crore provided by the government is only for the supply side. For the demand side, as the supply picks up, the demand will be incentivized by the government in the days to come. Remember, India's budget is 30 lakh crore. Now what they have provided is not from the budget. It is from 1,86,000 crore only, is roughly from the budget. Balance is still remaining. The government will work on it. It is only because of the monetary policy we got that liquidity. We have to understand in the banking terms. Many people are experts in the banking segment. There is a multiplier effect. 1 rupee you put in the bank, it is not 1 rupee. It will multiply as a credit multiplier, investment multiplier. So looking at it, first thing that the government has done is to first provide liquidity in the country. Because of this, the MSMEs and all the enterprises can be lifted up. Let me complete the session with the quotation of Swami Vivekananda. And whenever when I see the country's problem, I go to his literature. Swami Vivekananda said, "Let new India arise out of the peasant's cottage. Let new India arise out of the peasant's cottage, grasping the plough, out of the huts of the fisherman, the cobbler, the sweeper. Let her spring from the grocer's shop, from besides the oven of the fritter seller. Let her emanate from the factory, from marts, from markets. Let her emerge from groves and forests, from hills and mountains." This 20 lakh crore budget, 20 lakh crore allotment should help all these people to first come up. So when the fortune is created at the bottom of the pyramid, automatically industries will start reviving. This is the idea of the government, reaching to the last mile citizen. Of course, there are incentives to the MSME sector, which you should consult with your banker. I suggest you go and knock at the doors of the banker, do more sessions with the bankers from different NABARD, SBI, different bankers should come and address our members so that you can ask questions directly. How are they going to deliver? Government has done the support. If the support is not extended to you and me, it is the banker who is not providing that support. I will not understand finance. It is a responsibility of the banker to make me understand what I want. So we'll have to have intellectual sessions with the bankers is my suggestion, because 20 lakh crore liquidity is definitely asked to reach to the grassroots level considering the crisis situation. Thanks a lot for Hindustan Chamber of Commerce. There are many more issues which I wanted to discuss. As I committed, I stand on my time.
Yeah, thank you, Satya. Over to GS.
To be unmuted.
Yeah, yes, sir. Please, sir.
All of you will agree that it was a passionate presentation that Mr. Satyakumar made. There are just a few additional points that I would like to mention here. He was talking about buying the local products, which of course was also part of the last slide that was presented by Mr. Venkatraman. No one disputes that. I have read, I have also seen in practice that what was once a local brand in many of the individual countries have turned out to be global brands today. Unvandu may be the golden egg that we may have to look for. There are hundreds of other such products which are of international quality, but the reputation has got to be established by combined efforts of the powers that be, as also the marketing efforts that the larger corporate sector will have to pump in. It's absolutely essential to see that we support the street vendors. The statistics are staggering. If so much of job opportunities are there in MSMEs, and so much has been done by the street vendors during the last 59 days or so, it is something for which we owe a great debt of gratitude. But even in a calamity or in a pandemic like COVID-19, the opportunity is there. That's what Satya also mentioned. But who is to take care of these opportunities? The professional chartered accountants, educating, encouraging, and organizing bank credit and other facilities for these street vendors. Chambers of Commerce to enlist them and also to have a proper representation made to
The screen is frozen.
Sir.
The screen is frozen. The internet instability is there.
Yeah.
It's unstable. Yeah.
Because the large organizations look for maybe the other chambers of commerce, but then we are in no way inferior. Hindustan Chamber has a pivotal role to play in the years to come, and I think this opportunity must be grabbed with both hands. Assured payments by the governments to the various MSMEs. Again, this is something which has been on paper. In the last 10 days also, quite a few people have said that within a period of 30 days, things will be cleared. But we are not that much optimistic because the past experience has not been all that encouraging. But we are looking at a resurgent India. We are looking at an India which is likely to be totally different from what it has been earlier. We are looking at an India which is grateful for the people who have shown so much of resilience, so much of withstanding capacity, so much of tolerance, and so much of accommodativeness. Therefore, I am confident that we will achieve that goal also in the near future. They talk about the migrant workers, the immediate thought that occurs to me. It's true that out of the 31 crore migrants, only 8 crore people have been provided free rations. Nothing else could be provided because of the lack of infrastructure at the disposal of the state and central governments. There is also at least an assurance that 202 rupees per day will be offered under the employment scheme. But imagine every migrant worker who is used to earning a minimum of 700 to 800 rupees a day at the place where he has been employed in the last few years, to accept 202 rupees it will certainly have a great amount of resistance from him. Probably there may have to be a lot of bifurcations and classifications so that proper recognition is given to the eligible migrant workers who have skills, or at least semi-skilled laborers will get a better pay package. And a few points on actually what Mr. Venkatraman had also mentioned, including relating to the announcement by the RBI today, the reduction in the repo rate and all that. And an immediate fallout of that is a 0.5% reduction in the rate of interest for deposits. This country has always been supportive of senior citizens. Not necessarily me, but there are thousands and thousands of senior citizens who are dependent entirely on their past savings and the interest that they earn on that. I think safeguarding that is also of paramount importance, and some representation needs to be made. A 6.25% gross interest that the SBI has offered in the last few days might be inadequate to ensure that they lead a dignified life in future. During the last 70 years, we have also had the history of encouraging certain core sectors to be under PSUs, the public sector undertakings. Now, almost at one stroke, most of them are going to be privatized, and the labor force, the trade unions, and the general public, other than the politicians who are there to create trouble, will resist it, and it will have to be packaged in a proper fashion. And my last observation will be relating to gold. There is a mention that gold has been appreciating much above even what some of the best investments agents, investment businessmen have been able to achieve by way of appreciation. But then we also realize that in a country like ours, gold has been a substantial part of savings of households. I'm not talking about the ornamental gold, but I'm talking
Sir, I think there is a
Screen is frozen.
bandwidth issue.
we will be able to achieve something substantial by what we have been able to bring forth today. Thank you very much. And I am now handing it back to Mr. Nagappan with a request that the questions that might have been posed by some of the participants earlier as also today might be posed by him to the two speakers.
Okay.
And with his experience in investments, with his experience in the finance market, he is considered a great investment advisor. I'm sure that he will be able to give us valuable inputs in the form of closing remarks. Over to you, Nagappan. Thanks everyone for the opportunity.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You've already summarized it, and there is nothing much for me to say because both the speakers have answered many of the queries, but some of the queries which has come from the audience, let me take it one by one. One is very as simple as somebody has asked, why not government think of changing the financial year end to December, in at least during this such a time of crisis. This is one question. I'll leave three questions so that you can any one of the speaker can pick and choose to answer. One is the financial year. Why don't we change it? The second question is on the crude prices. Internationally, the crude prices have crashed continuously. When the prices are coming down, why we are not reducing the petrol prices and diesel prices, particularly with consumption coming down? What are we trying to? Why we are not bringing down the petrol prices and diesel prices? This is second thing, because this may lead to inflation, various other issues. The third one is NPA norms. Why don't we revise the NPA norms instead of having such very tight NPA norms followed internationally? Why don't we have something different, something more relaxed not like what we had earlier, but at least something which suits Indian condition, the current condition. So 3 questions: why not we change the financial year? Why crude prices price difference is not reflecting in Indian prices, and NPA norms. Any one of the speakers.
Can I take it up on the financial statement, and rest of the 2 questions can be taken up by Venkatramanji?
Yeah.
Because he'll have more insights on the NPA.
Yeah.
So the financial year thing, let me give the background to it. In March month itself, we represented on making it as that realign the financial year when the lockdown started. And you know what the Ministry of Finance came out of the notification? The Ministry of Finance said pandemic is not this pandemic is not going to sustain for long. So they said that the financial year need not be changed. Now they have a different stand now. So they are contemplating about it. But my stand on this is we should not change the financial year. I'll tell you why. The reason why we should not change, definitely all our experts here, many chartered accountant, financial experts, lawyers are here, industrialists are here. The reason is the loss has to be recognized. So this is a huge loss that has come. Now this benefit of carry forward will be available for you in income tax. So why do we need to leave that? So now going by changing the financial year, then changing the Income Tax Act, in India it's a multiple regulations. So looking at it, so it will be a hurdle in ease of doing business. Already we are not familiar with the schemes what the government is bringing, but definitely a thought process given by the government on changing of the financial year. But the financial year will be changed by the government only when the government sees an advantage out of it. So please understand. So as of now, the current situation of the financial year doesn't matter. You report it as per the present situation itself, present available year. So don't try to think too much on this change of the financial year, because losses are there for you all, so you can recognize that losses. And income tax provision, especially for this pandemic, can be brought in, where they can say that the losses can be carried for so many years, extended years.
I'll take the second question. Can I? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir.
So, in fact, this was something which we are discussing during this presentation. See, one of the hallmarks of keeping a good foreign exchange reserve and allowing the rupee to stabilize is not to fluctuate import prices based on the global conditions. That's one economic theory. Suppose it comes down to 30, you will bring it at 30. Suppose it goes to 130, will you increase it to 130? We can't afford it. Therefore, it neither swings both ways. A golden median is suggested. That's one. I want to take Dr. Vaidya's question, even though you didn't read it. It's a very important question. He has raised a question. Gold VDS is fine. Whether Supreme Court will uphold if such a scheme is announced by the government. I have 2 suggestions there. Because why he is asking is, in all the tax VDS schemes, your disclosure is subject to payment of some taxes. Only then you will get regularized. Whereas if you go and give gold and you want it after 5 years, why should government give it? Court is going to not uphold it. So there are 2 things in it. You have to say, see, if you say that there's going to be a tax on gold, no guy is going to bring it. So when you have a 5-year window period or a 3-year window period, as the case may be, then on trickles, then they should take the money every year. Small segment. See, Supreme Court will sustain if there is a small punishment. The degree of punishment doesn't matter to the Supreme Court, but there must be a punishment. So if it is very marginal and meager and affordable, then the constitutionality can be sustained. And 2, more importantly, when government is ready to underwrite collaterals to the extent of 3.5 lakh crores uncovered, see, suppose tomorrow somebody charges, government is acting irresponsibility, court has to come down and say that it is not an irresponsible decision in the given facts and circumstances. It's not doing it as a routine. Therefore, this exceptional situation and bailing out for a better cause can also weigh in deciding the constitutionality. These are the 2 inputs I thought I can add it to Dr. Vaidya for raising this question. A third question, I think, Satya, you can answer on NPA.
This NPA issue where we can think about the different global practices. The NPA norms as of now is uniform for MSME as well as large corporates. So, and we need to segregate as we have the definition now, a clear definition now, and can we look at a model where MSMEs will have a kind of a cushion in the in the NPA regime, and for the large corporates we need to bring a stringent measures, because 11 lakh crore, as per my estimation from the data what I have, 11 lakh crore, even the last budget when finance minister presented, she mentioned 11 lakh crore is the total NPA, and if that money was available, then would have funded for the social schemes. That's what she said. But all said and done, MSME seems to be honoring the payment properly, because they know that if they don't honor, they cannot go to the bank for the second time. So MSMEs are the people who are actually honoring the payment. There is many people, when we talk about Mudra, they say the 8 lakhs 20,000 crore what we have provided, they will not pay back. Let me tell you, I have a statistics, I have a data on the recovery aspects of Mudra. People who took Mudra's loan are the honest payers. Let me ask second point. Even if they don't pay, no problem. It is a social scheme. It's a social scheme because at least somebody tried something productively. So ultimately, it has gone to the bottom of the pyramid. So looking at that idea, the NPA norms has to evolve in India, especially for the top corporates, and the performance of the bankers should also be measured based on the volume of loan given. So not on the quantum to a single person, but to number of people he has given loan. So that performance measurement criteria should also change in the bank in the days to come. That's my suggestion. And Venkatramanji can add on that. NPA.
I think you can go ahead. In fact, I have only one request to you. If you can request the government to consider on the gold aspect, I think that will be something which you can think of.
Yeah.
And this 202 Manrega, Satya, I have to tell you, because all these 4 people who are all into intense agriculture, this is what is happening at the bottom, at the pyramid level.
Yes.
The passbooks are actually not with them.
Exactly.
They are all with brokers.
Exactly.
And they plunder it. Yeah. And whatever is given 50, 60, and no work is allotted. They are employed to, they are connected to a work which is all completely mechanized.
Right.
So whatever they get is a bonus.
Yeah.
So this nexus has to go.
Yeah.
The bottleneck in agriculture is only this fold. This money doesn't reach them.
Right.
And whatever reaches the farmer, he wants a write-off.
Exactly.
So these 2 bottlenecks, if government can handle it in a more responsible way, agriculture, there is a big chance for agriculture to bounce back.
Right.
That's what all these people are saying.
In fact, there is a book, Venkatramanji, the Of the Council, written by Arvind Subramaniam. After he exited from the government, so he wrote a very critical book, Of the Council. In that, he has mentioned when he's talking about DBT, even after implementing DBT, there is a corruption that is there is a leakage of fund happening in the Manrega. How it is happening? So he has mentioned about it. Yeah. So DBT is not solving a problem because somebody has to, there is a discrimination in providing the work itself, in choosing and labor itself. So where he is getting the cut upfront.
These problems now there is an allocation, there is a vision.
Yeah.
These bottlenecks have to be
right to precisely the public delivery of the government services.
Very well presented, Satya. I'm so happy. A youngster is thinking in favor of India. Very happy. God bless you.
Thank you.
So one question related to NPA. NPA is meant for the companies which are borrowing. Similarly, when you look at individuals, what is more important is CIBIL score. Now, in light of changed environment where people are losing their jobs, the increments are cut, bonuses are cut, and retrenchment is happening. Well, the CIBIL score should also be relaxed. This is something which may look ridiculous, but then actually maybe practically a good. I don't know. I don't want to put any words into your mouth, but what is your view, Satya? And,
definitely, sir. Especially CIBIL codes for the farmer credits and for the people on the bottom of the pyramid, we have to liberalize the CIBIL codes, because what applies to the employee segment applies even to the micro entrepreneur. Okay. Whoever gets the fund from the government, I think the CIBIL codes has to be kind of relaxed, considering the present. That's my view. Yeah.
Okay. There are quite a few other suggestions, not in the nature of question, but a lot of suggestions which have come. I have requested the participants to mail those suggestions to us, secretary at HindustanChamberofCommerce.com mail ID. And we'll be very happy to discuss in our chamber, and the chamber will take a call on it, and we will take it up. This is something. And yeah, one question from my side, I think the TDS part of it. I think in the presentation, Venkatraman sir mentioned, I think, about the TDS part of it, 75%.
Correct.
Now, why not do away with that entire, 100%? It may sound 25% looks like big, but then somebody who's paying a rent of 1 lakh or collecting a rent of 1 lakh per month, his savings is going to be, it's not savings, but its cash flow is going to be 2,500. Instead, if it is 100%, that is 10,000 rupees, which will help him to some extent to tide over the situation. He need not even borrow to that extent from the government or anybody else. And at the end of the year, anyway, if you have to pay tax, he'll pay tax. There is nothing, no two ways about it. Or the TDS can also be made just 1% token to track the thing. This is one thing I want to know, why government is sometimes thinking, not, instead of taking very bold and big steps, are they being very conservative in taking such kind of very safe measures? I'm not even talking about freebies or something else. This is something what is due to the government. It will come to the government if it is due to the government ultimately. This is one part. And I think there is one good thing which the government has done. When I was interacting with one automobile dealer in Madurai, he was telling me that he has got a setup which qualifies to come under the PF benefit. It's got about 90 people employed, and more than 90% of them are drawing salary below 15,000 rupees, small town nearby. So he is able to get about 1 lakh as a credit into his account, which is a very big, important cash flow for him, which is not actually highlighted, or which not many people speak about it. But I think this is something, a major benefit to some of the MSMEs which qualify, come under that PF prescription. Over to you. I think you can.
The two things I will. Your first question was, can you just on TDS? Yeah. See, it's like this. As I said, India is the only country which has a domestic TDS. No other country has it. Now, if you give an upfront relief, there can be a circulation and problem for the government also. See, in all the indirect taxes, you pay it on a month-on-month. Direct taxes, we pay only 3 or 4 installments in a year. Then government will say, okay, it's a tax due. Let it be paid every month by the income earner. Suppose they shift the goalposts, then nothing can be achieved. So there is an element of buffer where government should also have some sort of a liquidity to it. It has to do its own work. So it's getting the money upfront. But what Ranganathan, when he spoke 4-5 days back to a group of SMEs, they were suggesting this idea. See, there's nothing wrong in making the payment. See, 7,500 out of 10,000 I pay. Banks should be able to extend the same amount as a loan.
Yeah.
So let it be two-way process. Okay. And that is better. And end of the year, at least this year, they say many will end up in refund. Yeah. If the refund can be adjusted by the bank, and bank takes the responsibility of collecting from the income tax department, then the whole process of delay of cash flow delay into the owner's account can be averted. So don't reduce. Okay, 25% waiver is good, but can you give a collateral bank loan for the TDS paid? Can you convert the payment into a loan? After all, the other man is going to take credit and then pay it finally. So this is something which government can possibly consider as a request they are making.
Yeah. Sir, in fact, one of the participants has asked a similar question, but not about the direct taxes, but about GST. He has mentioned the same thing.
In fact, in one of the meetings where me, Satya, everybody participated in a conference call, I suggested that you can't exempt, you can't reduce. All that is not possible. After all, they have not increased it. Yeah. So suppose I pay 1 crore as output tax as an ITC. If they are able to give me 1% credit in cash, the moment I pay 1 crore, you can take 1 lakh as an automatic credit. That will be a huge stress remover for the manufacturing sector. When there will be recycling. You take an automatic credit, then recycle it. Automatic credit. So there is some sort of an automatic fund flow In a very 1%, 2%, they can think. Similarly, in income tax, expenses, see, now you have to encourage expenses, otherwise consumption level will shrink.
Right.
So for every 100 rupees of expenditure on salary, especially, because we should avoid retrenchment, we should avoid attrition. That's the need of the hour. So on salary payments, if somebody pays 1,000 rupees salary, if he's allowed a deduction of say 1,100, 1,150, a marginal increase in a deduction, it will induce him to retain that guy in employment. These are two suggestions, one in direct tax and indirect tax, which we gave it that day. I thought I will repeat it here for the benefit of everyone.
There is one question, we will wrap it up with that. For this full year financial year, through bank interest on loan to be waived off to the extent of GST paid amount. Example, in April, if a company paid a GST of 1 lakh, whereas his loan with the bank is 100 lakhs, for this GST worth 1 lakh, banks to not to charge interest. I'm not sure whether this is possible.
I read that question, otherwise I would have taken it. I'm not very clear about the number game, but instead of going through the bank route, this can be solved by taking the ITC, recredit of the ITC to a bare minimal percentage. That will be more immediate. That's the way I think we can solve.
And second, monetary policy interacting with this incentive will be a very tough in the government setup.
Understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ITC credit is the best idea.
Yeah. Can think about it.
Yeah, think about it.
So with this, I think we can wrap it up, and over to you, Mr. Nagarajan. Mr. Nagarajan.
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible? Hello.
Yeah, you're audible, sir. Yeah.
Right.
Lot of thanks. Yeah.
Well, it gives me immense pleasure in proposing a vote of thanks after having heard Mr. Venkatraman as well as Satya. In fact, Mr. Venkatraman, while he was presenting, I don't want to get into the details because of the time, and also since the elaborate discussions have gone through already, I was only wondering repeatedly, the people around were asking why money could not be credited to the bank account of every individual, which he has answered amply. In fact, this question was surprisingly asked by our former finance minister, P. Chidambaram, also in one of the interviews. And is it a relief or revamp of entire budget? That has been extremely well answered. And is it a borrowing or print notes? Again, that issue has been discussed by our Venkatraman. In fact, being an advocate, how deeply he has gone into the financial issues and the intricacies of financial issues. Probably that is what making Venkatraman always to be a speaker in any of our forum. And for best of his time that is being now lent, I think we should be extremely thankful. And each one of you will agree that he has made one of the brilliant presentation in total. Coming to Satya, as always, he has been very friendly person with all the channels in TV, but at the same time, very, very vocally supporting our BJP government and the governmental policy is his strength, and very rightly he has done that. But at the same time, he has been now making one very important the criticism against the bureaucrats. In fact, when we are talking from RR Sabha, I think we only know the pain of undergoing the bureaucrats really dealing very differently with RR Sabha. Not 1 year or 2 years, right from 2015 for our grant, which is legitimately being granted at the minister level, is being now held up for one reason or the other. And we also undergo the pains of the bureaucrats, those who are now possibly giving their best of hurdles in all the levels. In any way, I think Satya Kumar being there, probably close to the government and quite a few bureaucrats, at least he can take our matters to the highest level and help us in the process. Now, coming to this meeting, under normal circumstances, we wanted this meeting to be held in RR Sabha venue, but having heard this kind of the Zoom meeting, I feel probably most of the participants would have been really enjoying, because they could also look at so many other things if the topic is not very interesting. And within the auditorium, we prohibit people should not eat, drink anything. But I think that liberty we all had while speakers were talking. And with all that, we are only really enjoying. And while I don't wish only such kind of meetings on the Zoho mode, and instead we want the in-person meeting in the auditorium to be seen sooner. But then people have been talking about whether it is pandemic, whether it has become already endemic. And if it has become endemic, I think we are only to learn to live with. And therefore, very sooner, we all should meet in a larger number in RR Sabha to have the benefit of more structures. But by the time, we are only to celebrate India becoming a superpower much against any other global economy. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, all of you.
Log off. Thank you.
Thank you.